Hello, Chloe here. Today I have two nendoroids that I, as well as a bunch of other people, have been waiting 3 years for, and I am of course talking about Zhongli and Raiden Shogun from Genshin Impact. And I low-key can't believe that they're finally out. If you weren't aware, they were announced originally in May of 2022, so a little over 3 years. But they are finally here, so let's check them out. And let's start off with Zhongli first because he did come out a few weeks ago, but I wanted to wait for Raiden Shogun before I made this video. So let's start off with him. And I did have 3 years to think about this, but I still haven't really decided which pose I want to go with for him. But I am leaning towards this one. It is based on one of his White Day arts. But I am also leaning towards this one as well. But anyways, here are all the parts and accessories that he comes with. He does have a fair bit, including his signature weapon, the Vortex Vanquisher, as well as a tiny little Morax Exuvia. And of course, he does come with the standard Nendoroid base and stand, plus a few extra limbs for whatever pose you want to display him in. So here he is in his default form straight out of the box. He looks pretty great, I am happy to say. Those 3 long years were definitely worth it. I've said this before, but one of my favorite things about Genshin characters are their outfit designs. And I think they captured that really nicely in Nendoroid form. And the next setup that I'm going to show you is based on his White Day art from 2021. One of my favorite arts of Zhongli. And he looks so adorable in Nendoroid form. This is hands down one of my favorite ones. And if I did set this up last, I think I would have just kept it like this. But I do have one more pose to check out, not including this thinking face, which is his very iconic splash art pose. I am pretty terrible at posing nendoroids and I don't really have the patience for them. So I am probably not doing this justice, but I think it still looks pretty cool. And just for funsies, here is the very tiny, very adorable Morax next to the actual Zhongli Nendoroid for scale. Look how adorable he is. But anyways, as much as I love the White Day pose, I think I'm gonna have to go with the splash art one because it's just way too cool. Moving on, let's talk about the Raiden Shogun, my Archon. If you've been around for a while, I think it's pretty obvious that she is my favorite character, so really excited to open her up. So unlike with Zhongli, I already know what pose I'm gonna go with, and I'm pretty sure you know too, but I will say that I am pretty tempted to use this one. She looks so adorable and she has her little dongle milk. So I'm really tempted, but I think we're gonna have to go with this one. It's just too iconic. Look at her serving. But yeah, here are all the parts she comes with. She does come with fewer accessories as well as fewer parts in general compared to Zhongli. And her faceplates aren't even wrapped in plastic like his was, which is not a big deal. That said, she does come with an extra torso piece just for that specific pose. So we'll check this out in a bit. Another thing that's different with her nendoroid specifically is her base. I have a good amount of nendoroids in my collection and this is my first time seeing one like this. And this is also my first time seeing a stand like this one. Never seen this before. But yeah, here she is straight out of the box. This is her default pose, default faceplate. She looks pretty great, I am so happy to say. And then the details on her outfit also look very good. I really like the gold as well as the red. They pop a lot against the purples. Lots of purples. One thing that I did notice is that her braid kind of limits how you would kind of pose her. But I think that's mainly because the stand gets in the way of the braid. That's just one thing I noticed. But if you do want to kind of take a look at the back and admire the details on it, you can remove the braid, which I appreciated. Anyways, let's take a look at the cutest version of the Raiden Shogun, or I guess A. This is more A for sure. Look how adorable she is. She is so happy with her dongle milk. This is so adorable, hands down the best. But we gotta do the Shogun. We have to show her. Super cool. Here she is with her sword, the Musou Ishin, And then here she is with her engulfing lightning, her signature weapon. I have to say they both look really great. I think it's kind of funny how small the sword is, but I guess it is to scale probably to the Nendoroid. And you could display her with either one, or because you have free will, you could display her with both, because honestly, who's gonna stop you? And as amazing as this one is, we do have to check out her splash art pose, because look at her, this is so adorable. Seeing this in chibi form is definitely something else. And I almost completely forgot about this, but there is an additional like diorama piece. It's a little backdrop for the Raiden Shogun, which is pretty neat. A really nice effect of her elemental skill. Personally, I don't like using backdrops because they take up a little more space than I would like it to, so I'm just gonna store it back in, but it does look really great. Overall, I'm really happy with how she came out, and not just her, but also Zhongli. I think those two I am the most excited for regarding Genshin Nendoroids. And I'm so happy that I can finally have them join Venti and Two Travelers in my collection. And I'm not really sure if I'm gonna pick up Kaya or Xiao. I think it's just been way too long. And I think my interest in them kind of faded. That said, I don't think that there's necessarily a difference between a Nendoroid that was announced maybe a year before it released compared to the 3 years we waited for these two specifically. I think they're pretty much in the same tier quality-wise, and we probably won't ever know why it took so long to get these out. Also, Nendoroids in general are getting a lot more expensive, and I'm not really sure if they're worth that much, so I think I'm just gonna start picking the ones I really like only my favorite characters. But I am excited to see if they will release any new characters, because even though we do have a couple of scale figures announced or on the way, we don't really have anything regarding Nendoroids. But I think it'll be really cool to get the remaining Archons or some of my favorite characters. I really want a Yae-Miko one or a Shenhe, but that's just me. And I know they already have scale figures, and there's a bunch of more characters who deserve to have figures, but I really want Nendoroids for those two. I'm sorry for being greedy. Yeah, let me know what characters you want to see in figure form, Nendoroids, scale figures, anything really. But yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye!